You know, a lot has been said about, the state of South Africa since the incarceration of former President Jacob Zuma. There had been the riots that we'd seen in July that had taken place. That in the beginning, as I've been indicating throughout the program, all that the start of that being attributed to the incarceration of the former president, unhappiness over that. Would this decision by the Correctional Services Department somewhat contribute towards quelling some of the anger or even the unrest, because there had been threats of further violence that had also basically erupted a couple of weeks ago as well?
Certainly, Criselda, particularly when you look at the internal workings within the governing party. In fact, just a quick example of that situation. Today, there was a funeral of KP Mapatswe, the former chairperson, or rather the former president of MKMVA, now disbanded, and of course the former deputy minister of military veterans. So when Gwedimandashe, who's the chairperson of the ANC, was speaking, so some of the members of the MK went and disrupted his speech. Yeah. And basically what they did there, they didn't do much, they just were in front of him, and then they sang basically the song which basically said, so we are here, but former President Jacob Zuma is in jail, so we would want to see him released. So clearly that talked about the intentions that are happening within the governing party. So this is probably would be a step, particularly within the governing party, but also in the country in general, as you've correctly said. Those riots, never mind that when they spread, they took a criminal element, but they were started by the fact that former President Jacob Zuma had been jailed.
Sondile Mbeche, SABC political editor, thank you very much for your insights. Let's bring in now legal expert, Advocate Modidima Mannya. Thank you very much indeed, Advocate, for your time. So look, I guess the question now is, with the correctional services saying that former President Jacob Zuma will be placed on medical parole, what does this mean for the other case of the former president that is coming up relating to the arms deal? Could we see the possibility of the very same circumstances where now Correctional Services is basically saying that he's been released on medical parole as a result of his ill health? Would he be seen to be fit to stand trial in this other particular matter?
Yes, good evening and good evening to your listeners. Let me clarify this. The decisions taken by the Department of Correctional Services are in terms of the Corrections Act. The matter which has been handled in the High Court regarding the arms deal is conducted in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act. Now, the act that regulates corrections makes provision for the Department of Correctional Services to release a person serving a sentence on parole, and medical is one of the three forms of parole that can be granted to a prisoner. And I think it's based on, and the law requires that it be based on a medical report of the doctor who's treating the prisoner. So in terms of the statement that they issued, they say that they received a report which on the basis whereof they took a decision to place former President Zuma on medical parole. In terms of the arms deal matter, you will recall that there's an issue about his fitness to stand trial or actually a request for a longer postponement. And the judge in the matter has ordered that a medical report be provided and that the National Prosecuting Authority is authorized to appoint a medical team to examine former President Zuma. And as far as we know, has been, and I've seen that the foundation, the Jacob Zuma Foundation, has questioned whether he should be subjected to that intrusion. But that is the subject of a court order, and I think the court will then, at the appropriate time, deal with that matter. The fact that you are on medical parole does not necessarily presuppose that you are unfit to stand trial. So the court will still have to determine whether he is fit or not to stand trial in terms of the process of the court and not based on the decisions of correctional services.
All right. So what you're saying is that the current matter would have no bearing on the other issue pertaining to the arms deal, in that he can stand trial while on medical parole if found that he can.
Well, what I'm saying is that obviously it's the same person and probably having the same condition.
Yeah.
His legal team will have to make a formal application, substantive application to the court. If it is based on the same medical report, which I believe it will be, then that medical report will, subject to the court processes, be interrogated to determine whether it justifies a conclusion that he is not fit to stand medical trial.
And what is the likelihood of that happening, advocate? Because I think in this particular matter, the Correctional Services Department had based its decision on this medical report, which clearly, based on their decision, indicates that Mr. Zuma is not well. So what is the likelihood of using that very same report for this particular trial, which has been dragging on for so long?
Yes, but I think as I said, we must not confuse the fact that you are not eligible to remain in prison, because there are other things. You know, one of the considerations I suppose you could make is that it is better to have a prisoner being taken care of at home by private medical doctors, instead of correctional services having to carry the burden of attending to the medical condition of the prisoner. So it does not necessarily mean you are unfit to stand trial. The test for unfitness to stand trial is a matter that must be dealt with by the court which conducts the trial. So it may as well be that the same medical report may justify a release on medical parole, but may not justify or meet the threshold for an inability to stand trial. But you must also remember that depending on what the circumstances are, and because there are multiple accused in the matter, the court may decide that the trial be conducted in the absence of former President Zuma. It's provided for in the Criminal Procedure Act.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for those insights. Legal expert, advocate Modidima Mannya. We appreciate your time here